Hey, welcome back to Minding Your Business with the Lancaster Chamber of Commerce. I'm Chris Spiker of Antelope Valley Florist, getting ready for Valentine's Day. And I thought, how appropriate to have kind of a nice guy around town, a guy that you see everywhere, come in and kind of give us a what's up on where we are in 2020. So this is Drew Mercy, and he's the District Director for Senator Scott Wilk. Welcome.
Oh, thanks, Chris. It's great to be here with you and Aaron again.
That's right. You've been on the show before,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
we have elections coming up, so the chamber normally doesn't express or endorse people. But I'm thinking there's like more than one election. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, this is a busy year. Voters are going to be asked to make a number of decisions, but what's kind of unique this year is it's going to be spread out over several elections as opposed to just having the primary and general that we're used to. Due to the vacancy in the congressional seat that covers most of the Antelope Valley, we've got a special election first round plus the primary election on March 3rd. For Lancaster residents, then a month later, April 14th, you've got the city municipal election, and then a month after that, on May 12th, is the runoff for the special election for the vacant congressional seat. So we've got three elections in just over 2 months.
And then in November.
And then November, the big kahuna, the general election.
Okay, so don't say you're not getting your money's worth. We get to vote 4 times this
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, and this first quarter, the first next few months, you're going to get 3 ballots mailed to you. So don't think you got a duplicate. Double check them to make sure you don't throw out your ballot and miss your opportunity.
But you can truly only vote 1 time in each election.
Once per election. Yes.
But that old funny saying kind of works: vote early, vote often.
Yeah. Well,
this year,
yeah, especially with we have the early voting at the vote centers and mail ballot votes. So I would definitely encourage people to vote early, not necessarily often.
yeah, because the vote centers will be open.
Correct.
Beat the rush.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
You never know what can come up on the last day or election day, and I always recommend to my friends and family, you get it done early, and you don't have to worry about it or worry about something coming up that could prevent you from voting.
and we do believe that every vote is important.
Absolutely.
You don't want to miss a vote.
Mm-hmm.
I was feeling maybe a little like, wow, this is a lot of work. Should I vote? Yes, you should.
Absolutely. Each of these decisions are important, and local elections have, I think, even a bigger impact on our day-to-day lives than some of the national elections. So I think it's important to take each one seriously and do your homework and make sure your voice is heard.
And then when I say, well, how did this happen? And they look at you and say, well, we voted on it.
Yeah.
Wow, ouch. So as I was going through the mail this week, I go, well, do we still do absentee? And there was my ballot.
Mm-hmm.
Came in the mail this week for the March election.
Okay. Yeah.
So yes, there is absentee because I can't always figure out where I'm going to vote or what
Yeah.
day it is. I just like to.
Yeah, and those need to be postmarked by election day in order to be counted.
Gotcha.
So those are another one. You want to make sure you give them time to get back down to Norwalk where they count them, but also make sure that they get in no later than that March 3rd date for the primary.
Yeah, there's still the mechanical. It's got to go down to Norwalk.
Yeah.
And I got a little flyer in the mail. I got a question. This one says yes on Prop 13. So is Prop 13 redoing the property taxes?
Actually, this Proposition 13 that's on the primary ballot is not related to the partial repeal of Prop 13 that'll be coming of the original Prop 13 that provides the property tax protections. That will be on the ballot in November. They just reuse the numbers and start over again so often that there's going to be more Prop 13s.
You don't want to use 4 digits or 5 digits on a proposition?
Right.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
And so this one, I believe, is a bond, a property tax bond, statewide, that'll go to fund certain things. So it affects your property taxes, but it's not related to the protections that the original Prop 13 had.
Okay. And I bet you know all the measures
Well,
pretty well.
Well, don't quiz me. I'm familiar with a lot of them that are coming up. Most of them will be coming up on the ballot in November. Most initiatives are put out on November, but a lot of those haven't been given numbers yet. But we're seeing some of the issues that we've been talking about. The change in how Uber, Lyft, and other gig economy jobs are treated as independent contractors. There's going to be a rollback of that due to a lot of the outcry that came when that kicked in this year. So that policy decision will be on the ballot in November, along with several others.
Tell my employees at the flower shop that, well, we just pay those withholdings because included in that is workers' comp.
Yeah.
Which is really inexpensive insurance for a business owner.
Right.
Yeah, good to have. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I only have 7 employees, so life is still fairly simple in California for us.
Okay. Well, that's good.
We mentioned 4 elections, and I just wanted to mention 2 air shows.
Oh, yeah.
What an amazing year this is in the Antelope Valley.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. Look into the skies for those. The last few years since the LA County Air Show Committee brought back the air shows have really been wonderful. I've gone every year with my dad. He's a big aerospace fan as well, and we've really enjoyed it. And so looking forward to having that again. But then also the opportunity to go on to Edwards Air Force Base in the fall is going to be tremendous.
And the Air Force is welcoming us in.
Yeah.
That's really pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then also in 2020 we have 1 census.
That's true. Our every 10-year census, which is important. It affects so much of our daily lives that a lot of people may not realize. Not only does it affect our congressional representation, how many congressional seats our state is entitled to, but they'll use that data to then redraw the lines the following year for both congressional districts as well as the state assembly and state senate. But it also deals with the funding that our counties, our cities, our state gets from the federal government that's allocated per person. So getting an accurate count is important, ensuring that residents get their fair share of their tax dollars that they're paying in.
I'm just thinking, all the questions we get asked, I mean, doesn't somebody know all this stuff already?
Well, that
They know where you live, they know how long you've lived there, they know what kind of paint you used.
Well, I think there is definitely some truth to that, but at the same time, government is not always the most efficient. And I think often government inefficiency will provide a better explanation than a conspiracy theory will.
Sorry, yeah, I wasn't trying to. So I should just enjoy where we are.
Yeah, but no, so it is important to fill those out
Yeah.
and provide the accurate information.
Somehow for the flower shop, I get that. Oh, you've been selected randomly, and it's like a 20-page. What percentage is this, and how many bulbs did you sell? And it's like, wow. But people need to know that stuff.
Yeah, well, that sounds like an audit.
Should I be calling some help to come in? And then we have the Board of Supervisors election.
Correct. Yeah.
Which in our case is a candidate we need to talk about because Catherine does good stuff for the Antelope Valley.
Absolutely, and it's unique. It's her first re-election. She's served for 4 years now, and really, honestly, she's the second supervisor that I remember in my lifetime.
In your whole life.
I think I was 6 months old when Mike Antonovich was elected and served this area so well for so many years. And of course, Supervisor Barger was his right hand for many of those years.
I think maybe like 18.
As his chief of staff. And I tell you, she's up here so often. We get to see her. She's actively involved, following the issues important to our community, and that's so important to have in local government.
Sometimes because of the distance, the distance can be a blessing, but it's also like we don't get visits. And the supervisor's up here all the time.
Absolutely. As you know, being at the far north end of the county with the bulk of the population down in the basin, there are times when certainly other county officials don't necessarily have us at the top of their mind. Catherine always seems to be well aware of what's going on, being here and helping out with what we need.
Yeah, so when is her election?
So she is up in the March primary, so March 3rd. And as a local office, the way that election works is if she gets 50% plus one in the primary, then she's automatically elected. If no candidate gets over 50%, then they have a runoff for the top two in November. But I believe she only has one opponent, so somebody will win in November or in March.
Someone will win, but we mentioned her name, so let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And then I was talking to somebody this week about, since people have been leaving California, we might lose congressional representation.
That right. This could be the first time, I think, ever that we've lost a congressional seat. That might not be correct. I don't want to say that for certain.
It's been a while.
But it's been a very, very long time. We have certainly more, as the most populous state, we have 53 congressional districts. That's more than any other state in the nation. And with the population, with a lot of folks leaving, other states growing, it is possible we could lose one of those seats. And then, of course, that's like musical chairs for incumbents. Then they figure out, and they got to watch where they draw the lines to see
you don't want the
who's
music
left without a
stopping.
chair.
Buck McKeon said one time, he said, there's 53 representatives here from California, and we can't agree on anything.
Yeah.
Crazy, crazy. Well, we're going to ask you to come back and do another segment with us.
Oh, I'd love to.
We'll talk a little bit more because we barely scratched the surface on cool stuff. Talking with Drew Mercy, the district director for State Senator Scott Wilk. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back to Minding Your Business with the Lancaster Chamber of Commerce. I'm Chris Spiker, your host, and with us again for a second session is Drew Mercy. He's the district director with Senator Scott Wilk. And Drew, what's the senator doing these days? What's on the...
Well, the legislature has been back in session for about a month. Their calendar, like everybody else's, starts in January with a new legislative session, and it's all broken down into certain time periods. The first month and a half, they're working on introducing bills and finalizing bill language to promote. Then they start going into the committee process and that early version of vetting those bills and moving them forward along the process all the way through August when they finish up, and that's when all bills have to be completed. So Senator Wilk right now is working on a few different issues that he's been continuing. I mean, some of the things that he's always been passionate about, assisting with foster children, ensuring that they have the resources and opportunity to succeed just like every other great kid out there. Last year, one of the things we were working on that I think you touched on earlier was the problem we have with illegal dumping. And, when we talk about the mattresses and the TVs people throw out, a lot of times it comes down to just a local person, just not being considerate and being lazy and careless and throwing their stuff out on the side of the road. But the illegal dumping problem has actually, over the last few years, gotten much worse than that. What we're seeing...
Truckloads.
Yeah, just full truckloads. Essentially, a construction contractor down in LA or wherever needs to get rid of their very expensive waste. They put it out for bid, say, okay, who wants to take this off my hands? I'll pay you so much. And, somebody comes in with a bid that really is lower than feasible. Yeah. But that gets accepted, and that subcontractor...
And it could be cash, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that contractor really, rather than going and disposing of it properly and paying the fees they're supposed to, just unfortunately are driving up here and dumping just truckloads of construction waste. And right now the penalties are so low that the penalties for dumping it are lower than what it costs to actually have them processed properly. Wow. So they view it as just cost of doing business. Yeah. And it's our community that suffers, and in particular, a lot of lower income communities out on the Far East Side, Little Rock, Lake LA, are particularly hard hit by this. So one of the things that he's promoted and was working on attempting to bring back is a bill to increase that penalty so that there's a real deterrent to stop people from doing that. along the lines of economic development, bringing good quality jobs to the Antelope Valley is another one of his top priorities. So he's continuing to work on the industrial hemp issue, which, to provide some background, hemp is now a legal product for industrial purposes. It was illegal for many years due to what we would say is erroneous confusion between it and cannabis.
Right.
Hemp does not have any intoxicating attributes to it. Somebody could sit there and smoke it for a very, very long time, and their mind's not going to get any fuzzier than it started with. But it's a very versatile industrial product. It can be pelletized, meaning they take it and convert it into a pellet with the oil, which then can be used for anything that plastic can be used for. So you think about that, a biodegradable plastic. It's an agricultural product as opposed to an oil-based product.
Yeah.
And
Similar to bamboo.
yeah, and has a history of that. The sails of the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria were made out of hemp, as was the oil used to seal those ships. The Declaration of Independence was written on hemp paper. It's a kind of a funny story how it got wrapped up in.
That is a real story, though.
That is a real story, and then the real story of how it got wrapped up in the ban was after Prohibition. Some of the folks that still wanted to get rid of different intoxicants after Prohibition was repealed turned their eyes to cannabis, and actually it was William Randolph Hearst took advantage of it and said, well, hemp looks just like it. Not mentioning that he owned forests of timber fields that were making competing products, and by getting hemp wrapped up into that, he was able to wipe out the competition. So, but truly in Europe and other places where it's used as an industrial product, it provides a great value. With the water adjudication that we went through in the Antelope Valley recently, water rations for agriculture were cut significantly. And growing hemp actually takes about a third the water that alfalfa does. So a lot of the local farmers are able to turn to a new crop that uses less water and provides a great deal of manufacturing.
Out here on the east side?
Here on the east side, I think that's primarily where they've started it so far. And but again, also as a industrial product, I think Senator Wilk thinks is going to open the door for manufacturing. All those industrial uses, why not open up the companies to do that right here in terms of converting it for the manufacturing and industrial use. Those are good jobs, mortgage-paying jobs that we can be attracting out here with a new industry.
And even in the amount of commuting distance, even in Los Angeles, people are driving 50 miles.
Oh yeah.
From Long Beach to, somewhere else. And right here in the Antelope Valley, the commute's going to be 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, with every new job that we're able to bring to the Antelope Valley, or that an entrepreneur creates, it takes one person off the road, and it's more than just easing traffic. I mean, that's 3 to 4 hours a day that person's going to have with their family rather than being on the road.
Yep.
And that's where the quality of life, gas savings, all of that is just a win-win all around.
Yeah. Senator, have anything else going on?
Well, he is continuing to work within the legislature. Part of the big focus, trying to bring some common sense ideas back to Sacramento. There's a lot of things that have been going on that have hurt small businesses and the ability to attract jobs. I think, as we talked about, the fact that so many people are leaving the state, largely, it's retirees leaving for affordability. You've got young people who can't afford to buy a home in their hometown because of lack of housing has driven the prices up. And that has a result either of people leaving the state or even worse, dealing with a homeless crisis where California has over half the homeless
in the whole country,
in the entire country. And that tells you, there's some policy problems that are going on here that are not going on other places. And so addressing that is vitally important. And it's very close to his heart. You may even hear some radio ads that he's started airing, where he's talking about his own family. His daughter and son-in-law had to move out of state to find good
He
employment.
wouldn't let him live in the garage or what?
Well,
They just move in for
so they're out of state now, and,
Wow.
and he wants to turn that around so them and his grandson Zeke can come back to California.
Hey, a little bit on the Board of Trade in Gavia.
Oh yeah.
You know, these are two amazing groups here in the Antelope Valley,
Mm-hmm.
and they're joining forces.
Yeah, and as both of us have served as Board of Trade presidents in the past, we know how near and dear that organization and its mission is to my heart and yours as well. I think it's a tremendous opportunity. They perform different but similar functions in advocating for the area. And if you look around in other communities that have been very successful, they've had, whether they call it a Board of Trade or Economic Development Corporation, they have one entity performing all of those functions. And I think it creates a great deal of synergy, it increases efficiency, and I think will help the Valley speak together with one voice, which I think only helps us when we're talking about attracting employers and investment from out of the area.
It's all about the region.
Yeah.
And then you have a couple of Chamber of Commerce that are talking about
Yeah,
coming
and
together.
I think that has the same function, or has the potential for the same positive effect. I mean, being able to speak as one Antelope Valley, our cities, Lancaster, Palmdale, Quartz Hill, the outlying communities, we're not competing against each other. We're competing against other parts of California and other parts of the world. The world is smaller economically than it has been in the past, and by being able to get all our local businesses together under one chamber, I think will be an incredible opportunity.
Were you at the lunch that J.J. Murphy, the new city manager?
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be there.
What an amazing story he has, and I'm so glad the city of Palmdale hired a young guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
I've been very impressed. I've met with him several times and talking about local issues and how we're moving forward, and I've been incredibly impressed by his energy and commitment to the city, and wanting to do what's best for the whole valley and working together with everybody. So yeah, I think we can expect to see some great things from JJ.
This is a guy, he's been in town a couple of years, and his wife is a teacher, and he had three of his daughters there. And there used to be a motto, a place to call home,
Yeah.
Palmdale. And I'm thinking, the Murphys have found a home.
Yeah.
They love it. And something JJ said, we need to tell our story, talking about city of Palmdale, not let the negative people drive the message. And I thought that's what we all need to do. And that's kind of the idea behind AV Nice.
Yeah, and I think that's a perfect motto for just about anything. There's always folks that throw out the negative, but you focus on the positive, keep moving forward, we're going to do great things.
Yeah, we live in a great place.
Yeah.
I don't know, you follow Facebook and like people are posting pictures of the sunrise and the sunset and Joshua trees. I'm going, they love this place.
Oh, absolutely. The natural beauty here is unparalleled.
So just a couple things we got to fix.
Yep. We can always strive to do better, but I think we should also count our blessings, and the amazing people, the community here that we have is truly special.
Drew Mercy, District Director, Senator Scott Wilk, thanks for being on the show.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for being a Chamber supporter.